Welcome everyone to Room with a View. I'm so glad to be joined by 4 different views here. Let's just dive into our first question here. This is the most viewed video clips in China in the year 2016. A tiger bite a woman during a safari tour, drive-through tour, and then it ended up 1 dead and 1 injured. So first and foremost, is it appropriate to release such disturbing video online?
In China, I think it's quite common now to see all that footage. It was quite shocking to see so many people to wish her to die, and say that her mother died wrongly, and she should have been the one eaten by the tiger, and she could be eaten 100 times, and it would be her fault anyway. So,
well, you know, in the U.S., the media outlets, they self-discipline. There's no law that says you cannot show them. And in this country, most of these outlets, basically, unless you prohibits us from doing certain things, and unless you discipline us, then basically we're free to do anything else. So they don't have the habit of self-discipline.
But China's anti-domestic violence law just came into effect this spring. Does that mean that something private is now being judged by the law?
Well, I think we still have one thing missing. You know, the law is there, but people will still believe the way they used to believe. And until law enforcement actually come in, until there is a signature case where this law is being applied, and until then, I think society will still behave how they behave.
I disagree with that. I think laws play 2 roles. One is to punish bad behavior, but the other is to sound the tone of what is bad behavior. So you have the government saying, this is okay, this is not okay. And I think it's a powerful message for the government to pass this law and say domestic violence is not okay. This is not a domestic matter. This is somebody's safety. And so I think it would also empower people to do something. So you can also say, listen, this is illegal. Not this is my opinion. I think this is wrong.
Yeah, I think a lot of times social media commentary may not be a good reflection on how the public actually think about the event. The reason being is that you know, when there's an emotional response from a large majority, let's say on the tiger incidents, so many people accusing the woman, the people who are on the other side usually tend to be silent, because if you say something, then the people around you will say, how could you, you know, and so they become silent, and so we don't really know the real balance, because one side is so loud and the other side is afraid to show their face.
And it's usually the crazier side.
Exactly.
That tends to be the louder side.
Exactly. And so that's thus the term, the silent majority. And number 2 is sometimes for these type of situations, we don't necessarily have a simple answer. For instance, you asked the question, are zoos still appropriate today? Well, it's not whether our zoos are appropriate, but how should we run a zoo appropriately for the 21st century? Because before, in the beginning, zoos were basically animals are here to satisfy human curiosity. So we don't care about the animals' living condition. We don't care about their welfare. And now we're better at caring for their welfare, including breeding programs that help endangered species and so on and so forth. But did we worry about their psychological welfare? So I hope they'll still be here, but we need to do a better job.
Of course. Now let's move on to the second story, which is a great reflection on what you mentioned, the silent majority here. In April, a young woman in Beijing was assaulted by a man in one of Beijing's hotels, which is called Yihe. And she cried out for help, but the initial over a dozen people walked by, including hotel staff, didn't respond until a female guest at the hotel came to her rescue. And the man who assaulted her was sentenced to 2 years in jail for forcing prostitution. So this also went viral on the internet because the young woman is a journalist and she knows how to use social media as a platform to cry out for help. So my question is, why did the dozen people that came across her ignore her at the beginning?
Well, I mean, I would like to bring up the point that at the end, a woman did come to this woman's help. She helped drag her out of the elevator after the man who was working there didn't help her and all these other people walked by. A woman did come to her aid. I think you do what you can.
Well, the enthusiasm on the internet discussing this issue is actually in contrary to the real life where people just walked by and ignored the incident. That's why on social media there's a word called the keyboard hero, describing those who are really heroic online in front of their keyboard and their screen, but actually is really indifferent in real life. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting, as you mentioned before, the video that we're all seeing is this woman looking at the surveillance video. So she's video recording the surveillance video and describing what happened to the people at the hotel. So I hadn't thought about that before, but she's really taking ownership of sort of what happened, and she put it out onto the web, and she sort of used the internet then in her own defense. Yes. And since then, the man has been arrested. The hotel has apologized, and I think a lot of about this story we talk about the internet helping this woman, but then we sort of forget she sort of took her fate into her own hands here. She put it onto the web. She asked for help, and then she got that. She got help when she asked for it. I don't necessarily think, we can demand of people that they jump in and and save everyone in need, but I think whatever little bit helps, including people supporting on the internet.
Yeah, we've already talked about two disturbing and violent videos that are viral on the internet. Let's lighten the mood a little bit. Panda off the endangered species list. In September, the official status of the beloved animal has been downgraded from endangered to vulnerable. But there are now over 2,000 pandas all around the world. My question is, why do we love pandas so much?
Well, I think you should ask people around the world because I think Chinese people love the pandas, but not as much as after panda went around the world. We gave the pair of pandas to the U.S. I think was in the late 70s or early 80s. That's when the panda mania started, when we started loaning or giving pandas to zoos around the world. And I think it was only after an international, love affair with panda started that Chinese people begin to truly appreciate the panda more and more.
I think maybe it has to do with the color, no? There's black and white type of, it's kind of, yeah, there's a funny side to,
the big eyes.
The eyes, yeah. Exactly, yeah, there's something. It's all you said, I think. Maybe the color added to it. And I did actually, when CCTV has a panda channel, yes. And I was actually in Chengdu in one of the panda areas on the day of the opening of the channel. I was amazed because we we had some interaction with baby pandas. Those things are strong, really strong. Because one jumped on me, and I nearly fell.
How big was it?
Down. No, it was really small. This side, maybe, it's small, right? Baby panda. But they want to play with you.
Mm. Now, of course, the Chinese push to protect this endangered species has been very successful since the 1970s. But should we evenly distribute our attention to all endangered species except just this one?
Well, I did some research on this. There are about 100 endangered species in China right now. None of them are as cute as the panda, unfortunately, and so none of them get the attention that the panda gets. Well, and so I could throw the question. There's something called a Yangtze soft-shelled turtle that's endangered. How many of those do you think are living today?
50.
What do you think?
You say 50? I say 15.
Okay.
Well, I was hoping 100.
Three. There's three left, and so there's two they're trying to breed. They're in the Suzhou Zoo, and I think that's maybe a more interesting story for me as a social media editor. But the pandas get all the attention. Also, an interesting fact is that China owns almost every single panda on the planet, and they have the legal rights to ownership of every panda's offspring.
So they're renting them out.
Right, they're renting them, but so the babies of all the pandas on the planet belong to China.
All right, from something fluffy to something sharp. Well, if we can do so, I would like to name 2016 the year of glass bridges because we're seeing so many of them. There are now more than 57 glass-bottom bridges in China, and a further 28 are under construction. What does it say about China's tourism?
Well, I think everyone's going for sensationalism or whatever you call it. Who has the most incredible scenarios? Which one can make your adrenaline flow? That's what they're going for. And in a way, it's exciting. But on the other hand, aren't we losing some of the more traditional value of travel to the natural place?
And social media is also crazy about these glass bridges. We've seen a lot of videos of people just lying on the glass bridges, getting pulled by their friends, being made fun of. So those videos also went viral on the internet.
You see a lot of these sort of selfie type videos on this bridge, and I think that's part of the attraction. Is people aren't really, you don't see a lot of pictures of just the bridge. You see people interacting with the bridge, people having fun at this tourist site, and
that I think that's probably part of the effect of social media. The young people, they're so attached to social media. If they do something interesting, if somehow it could be reflected, recorded, and spread around in a manner that they can show off to their friends and impress their friends, then it's like they wasted this trip, you know. So and so if they think of one place where I can, you know, send a photo and have my friends say, "Wow, you were there," well, that be it, right? So they're going for that wow factor. And that's, I think, one of the biggest attractions. If you tell those people, okay, no cell phone and no photo taking allowed, you know, most of the people would leave. They would not even get on the bridge. They don't really want to get on the bridge without a photo, you know. It's really all about the selfie.
I agree. And sometimes these videos can make a difference. This is quite interesting. In March, during a surprise raid on street vendors, a city management officer who has no right of detain or arrest was being kissed by the street vendor during a scuffle between the two sides. So why he's so angry about the kiss?
Well, because it was a man.
So homophobia?
No, has nothing to do with homophobia. I'm a musician, and so many teachers, friends, you know, are gay. So I grew up from really a young age around them, no problem. If a guy kisses you, you will be shocked also as a girl, you know. It's
in this case,
I think
would a woman street vendor kissing the city management officer be better in this case?
well, I mean, his response was to hit the man. So I don't know if you, although this brawl, this street brawl that you see in this video, women were involved with, people are carrying weapons, and it was quite violent. And his response was to hit the man. I don't know if you would have responded with hitting a woman if she kissed you.
But I think the fact that he was kissed by a guy maybe led to this violence. But if he was kissed by a woman, it may not lead to this violence, but it still will lead to unpleasant results. Because the fact is, men or women, gay or heterosexual, unwelcomed kiss is always going to lead to something unpleasant.
Yeah, it's quite intimate. This man who kissed this Chengguan, and I'd like to sort of talk about what that means even, because as an American, he's not a police officer, but he is a police officer. It's a bit confusing watching this video and then reading all of the social media about the anger, about what's going on. Is confusing, but this started before, and this man, the street vendor, had everything that was on the street, at least, taken away from him. And so when you watch this kiss, it's just such a bizarre thing to watch.
It's a very bizarre thing.
Because, but the context is he'd lost. So they had taken away everything he had. He'd fought against them, tried to take everything back, lost, and then he kisses the guy.
Now, anytime you mention the word Chengguan in China, people think about how violent they are.
That's exactly what I want to ask. Are we demonizing those city management officers, the Chengguans, or are we really using social media to supervise as a watchdog of abuse of power?
So there are a lot of people, they have people who are over them that's putting pressure from the top, and so they have this resentment towards that. and then they found Chengguan to be an outlet for this frustration and this anger. So Chengguan, even though they partially deserve it, but at the same time, a lot of people are channeling their negative energy from other aspects of their life to this one place where everyone agrees this is a good place for an outlet.
Is that a good thing?
For a society in general, there's a negative effect because even though these vendors provide us with some convenience and so on and so forth, I think we all agree to some degree to have everybody hate them actually is not really good for the city, it's not good for society.
Yes, a lot of things happened in 2016. That's why we love this country so much. It was really lovely talking to you, hearing your views in this room with a view. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.